Salt Lake City. Hey Jake, how are you? Salt Lake Jake. Salt Lake Jake.
Salt Lake Jake.
Welcome to Salt Lake Jake's Take. Gentlemen, it is rivalry week finally upon us. The pain, the sadness, the fear, the excitement, all those things. It's going to be an awesome week. And we're going to have 2 episodes this week. We have a special guest join us for this show. And then we're going to have our follow-up episode after that, which where we talk unleashed, unfuried, and go full bore. But the very special guest, people have been crying out for the reunion of North and Goal. For those that don't know, North and Goal is now podcast in the past between myself and Dr. Benjamin Hadfield, on Twitter known as Nice Leader Hosen. We started a podcast years ago where we talked about Utah and BYU. He outgrew us. He decided he was too good for me, and he left me to do his own thing away from Twitter and sports world, which would mean just like live a life like most normal humans do, most adjusted humans. But I couldn't let it go. So we are having a reunion episode, and let's jump into that. Let's welcome our guests. Let's bring him in, my friend Benjamin Hadfield.
Salt Lake Jake. Salt Lake Jake.
Salt Lake Jake.
I have been waiting for this day for, I want to say, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, whatever it is. The reunion tour is back from humble beginnings, from a lowly 1 to 2 listener podcast, which has bloomed into millions of weekly subscribers. We have the man that started it all. And maybe, you know what, Benji, I will let you give the background on how our podcast started and the vision and dream you had that led to it. But I would like to welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the great Dr. Benjamin Hadfield from Fairbanks, Alaska. Benji, how we doing?
How long did you want me to wait for the applause to die down?
Keep going. It's too soon still. It's too soon. It's still going.
Right there. Yeah.
No, happy to be here. Yeah, going way back. Living in a house that doesn't even exist anymore. I remember I woke up one morning and like the dream that I'd had the night before was a podcast featuring you and me. And it's every week, but it's just 15 minutes. We just keep it so brief, and then that's it. And we hammer them out. And I woke up and I'm like, let's do this. And I think we had maybe just a little bit of brainstorming on the name, and then came up with something that we liked. And yeah, it was awesome. And the one thing that never came true in that dream, when you and I get talking, there's no way 15 minutes is going to be adequate.
No.
I don't know what that part of the dream, maybe that was to motivate me to actually do it. Didn't make it seem like it was that daunting. But yeah, we'd have like 2 or 3 hour episodes that we had to pare down, make them maybe an hour. But yeah.
And maybe that's
as
what
a listener, they were all too short for me. I'm a huge fan.
Not me, Benji. Awesome. I skipped your part and I was listening for Jake. No offense.
You're like, oh, it's the BYU guy. I don't want to hear that.
And listen, maybe that was the goal. Once we would get to 15 minutes, we'd be translated, but we never did. And so
that's right.
So we're still stuck. We're still stuck in this celestial world waiting for that to happen. But maybe, who knows, maybe if we can end for 15 minutes, we'll do it here. And for those that don't recall, our podcast was named North and Goal for a specific reason. 1, it was a play on 4th and Goal, which is really cool. But 2, Benjamin Hadfield lives up in the great North Pole, Alaska, a suburb of Fairbanks, and I was Alaskan bred in my high school days. I graduated from Juneau Douglas High School in Juneau, Alaska. So we said, hey, let's take the concept of the North, the Alaskans, talk about football. North and Goal was born, and it led down the road to Benjamin and I are both independently wealthy. We have unlimited amounts of cash, and we just work for fun because we get bored. And that's what that led to.
That's true. Yeah. No, once we hit that retirement mark, that I rode off into the sunset. I'm like, that's too much money. You know,
For sure.
I'm glad you're doing it for the love of the game now.
For the love of the game. That's exactly what it's for. I love hearing my own voice. We have 3 listens a week. 2 of them are mine, and the other one is Pete's as he kind of reviews the podcast. So we can reminisce all day, but let's dive in. Benjamin Hadfield, has there been in the history of the Holy War a game as anticipated and as hyped as this one this week?
Ooh, I'm sure there has. I'm sure we have recency bias. I bet there has been, but let's say there's not. Let's say no. Well, let's go to this. Has it happened that we've been a top 25 matchup before? Like back in the Mountain West days, was there ever both teams were ranked?
Well, just to throw back, Benji would always say, we don't know what we're talking about. We're just talking about sports. So let's harken back to that before I give my answer. I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
There had to be a couple of times, right?
Okay, this is what's been on my mind this week. Pre-social media, the love of sports, going back to like childhood and teenage years, like whatever team you followed, you lived for the moments of, the most on the line, like the most pressure, the one that meant the most to you, highly competitive. And I remember basketball games, Box Elder versus Mountain Crest, one in particular where it was incredibly loud, crazy loud, came down to the final shot, ball bouncing on the rim. And I just remember that feeling in my eardrums of like, this is an intense, insane level of volume here. And I was trying to remember this week. I don't even remember if we won or lost that game, but I just remember the environment being so wild. And as a kid and as a teenager, you would live for this rivalry week and be like, this is the game that matters. Now, since then, maybe you go back the last 10 years or so, I've heard quite a bit of people, and maybe a little bit more from your side than from my side, saying, I wish we just get rid of this game. It's not worth it anymore. The rivalry's toxic. I hate this. And I get where that's coming from. I think from Ute fans, there's two reasons. One is you were P5 and we were kind of P4.5 in independence, trying to be P5, not quite there. And the other, you guys stood to lose where, we had nothing to lose in terms of, conference championship and all that. But I think social media can take something beautiful and make it just amplified to the point where it's no longer fun. And so I see some of that. And in fact, we've seen a lot of that just even the last couple of days where I feel like, if you touch grass, delete the app off your phone and just focus on the game, why wouldn't you want this? This is everything. This is what sports is all about. Two teams considered their main rival, both of them with something on the line. I honestly feel like right now at this point in the season, the vibe is Texas Tech versus one of us for the championship. And it's intense.
It is. And you know what? You bring up a good point. I actually tweeted that earlier this week. I said, I think I'm aging out of the rivalry smack talk because for those that knew me 10 years ago, I was a Jim Rome smack talk champ, baby. Well, not the smack off, but I called in. I was a big caller day. I won 2004 1280 Zone Smack Off, and I built my quote-unquote internet brand, quote-unquote whatever that means, on that. But like the older I get, I just hate it. But for some reason, this week drags me into trying to live up to that. And like I've realized this is a young man's game, man. Twitter is a young man's game, Twitter rivalry especially, because I tweet some stuff, and all of a sudden, dozens upon dozens of these 22-year-old kids come at me. I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this again with a new set of fans. Like, I've honestly, for the first time, realized I'm too old for this now. Like, it's not fun anymore. And to your point, social media has ruined it because it's no longer just, yes, I get to win. I get to go to school on Monday and tell my friends, ha ha, on your race. No, now you lose, you log on, and everything you've said in the last 6 months about your team, someone has screenshotted and says, any update on this? What now? Everything you've been wrong about is right there. Like, you're too scared to face it. It's like, it's just not worth it, dude. It's not worth it. So what we're going to try and do today, we're going to try and tap into that 90s magic, where it's talk about what makes this rivalry fun and why we love it, and not the I hate at BYU1984Coug.com or whatever. I hate that guy. We're not doing that today. We're talking about why we love this rivalry. So Benji, my first question for you, what is your first memory of the Holy War?
Okay, so this will absolutely age myself. During all of my childhood years, that's basically how Utah feels about 2010 to 2020. It wasn't a rivalry. When we lost, it was a little bit surprising. It was shocking. It was like, wait, they can beat us? Like, how does that happen? It just is. It doesn't happen frequently enough. And so I remember I would watch all the games with my dad and with my grandpa, with my uncle, with my brother. But there was one particular game where my dad had a couple friends over, that my dad went to BYU law school and he had someone else that was a BYU fan. And he had a couple guys over that were Utah fans. And I was just like, they exist, like who would want to do that on purpose? Like the 90s were a different time. Being in Brigham City, Utah, obviously closer to the U of U than BYU, but it's small town. It's out there. It's far enough away from both of them that I feel like every kid, you just pick the team that's winning. And BYU was winning big in the 80s and the 90s. And so earliest memories was not much of a rivalry. And then I remember the unforgettable game was John Beck to Johnny Harleen. And I feel like there was kind of the momentum shift around then because both teams, Utah stepped up their game around that time. So a while it was competitive, and then we won't talk about what came next. But yeah, my earliest memories, it was fun to beat Utah, but it didn't really feel that special. It happened all the time.
Okay, so now that you've just bragged about how good you used to be, what was your earliest memory? The earliest memory, not the fact that you felt like you never lost. What was your earliest memory?
Well, that's the thing. So I have my earliest formative memories were my grandma's house and BYU football and chocolate chip cookies and Pepsi. And Utah was not a part of that. Utah was just kind of like I guess we hate them more because they're closer, but it wasn't specific to that game, Okay. So I can't really have a core moment where I was like, ooh, we really want to win this game. That came later when I had been a fan for 10, 15 years. Okay. In fact, it was living in California, and maybe it was the advent of social media and like staying in touch with like relatives and things like that, where for me the intensity amped up. So yeah, that's still a non-answer. I have no earliest memory of the rivalry specifically.
Okay, well, I'll share mine then, since you don't have a memory. Mine, I was 8 years old. I was sitting on this hard asphalt in the north end zone in Rice Stadium before it expanded. For those that remember, in the north end zone, they had this kind of like Colorado does now. Behind it, this sloped cement asphalt that said Utah paint on the ground. And for $25, it's called the Max Kids Club.
Max Kids.
$25, you could sit there in the end zone and watch your team play the other team. My first in-person memory was 1994, sitting in the Mac Kids Club in the north end zone. Utah won 34-31 for the second straight year. This one, we were down with 50 seconds left, and I can't remember. I think it was Dolce. No, McCoy maybe was the quarterback, and he hit Charlie Brown in the flat. And he ran it in for a 12-yard touchdown to take the lead 34-31, and we rushed the field. Then I tried running off with somebody's helmet, but I got grabbed around the neck by a security guard. That was my first memory of being in person.
8-year-old move.
Yes, but it was a lot of fun, man. It's been the fabric of this state's football scene as long as I can personally remember. And man, it's taken a turn, like you said, around the mid 2000s when social media started coming out, Facebook and Twitter, and now it's personal. It's almost feels like if I lose, I'm lost. If we lost, I've lost. I've lost personally, like my dignity and my worth as a son of God is all of a sudden for naught,
it's diminished
because of this, and I hate it. But is what it is. It's amped up. Big Noon. Fox Big Noon kickoff show is here in town. There's been death threats and arrests. There's been lots of things already leading up to it. It doesn't appear to be settling down a little bit. But hey, just real quick, our crack research staff did some fact checking when we were talking. 2009 was the last time Utah BYU met ranked. 2009, number 19 BYU versus number 21 Utah was when you won in overtime. And that was actually the Max Hall rant game. So that was the last time two ranked teams met.
I was there.
Hates me.
That year, that was my return to the state of Utah. I'd been living in California for 4 years. I had just returned to Utah, and I bought tickets that year to Florida State, TCU, and Utah. Because I was like, I'm a grown up now. I have a real job. I have money. I'm gonna like do what I love. And Florida State and TCU sucked. Like we got blown out, and I really considered selling my tickets. I'm like, I don't want to do this a third time. and very top row, above the end zone, above the south end zone. So completely opposite from where the play to win it happened. But yeah, loved being there. And I still remember being on I-15 right around Orem, listening to Greg Wrubell post-game show, hearing Max's comments live, and thinking, he's not saying that. Is he saying that? This is real? He can't. No, he's not. I can't believe he said that. And then, this is going to be bad. Like just kind of like, what, Max, buddy, no, slow your roll. Like what, like just almost like a car wreck in slow motion. Like, no, this can't be real.
Just add it to another chapter of the rivalry history.
Yes.
Let me ask you, I got a quick question. So this week in the press conference, there's been some things made of the different press conferences. They asked Witt about Bear Bachmeier, and Witt gave a non-answer. He just said, I'm going to focus on us this week. What do you make of that as a BYU fan?
Don't fall for this, Benji. He's trying to trap you. He's trying to get you into saying something inflammatory.
What it tells me is that Witt has a burner, and he follows a lot of BYU fans on Twitter, and he is very calculated in, I'm going to make at BYU 1984 lose his mind by answering this way. No, that's not what I think.
Does Whittingham get under BYU fans' skin?
No, some of us, anybody's gonna. I mean, it's a huge, diverse fan base. Yes, some of us. Me personally, in a way, it's flattering. So my first answer was because the back and forth. I saw so many Ute fans justifying his comments by saying he did it because he knew it would bug you, and I think, well, that's like even worse for him. Like I don't think he's doing it because of Twitter fans. No, I think he's been doing this a long time. He knows how to get his team ready. Bronco Mendenhall was notorious for answering a question and then hurrying and like qualifying that with the opposite of that, and then going back to what he was originally saying, because he learned that whatever you say, you're going to get in trouble. And I think Witt, it's most likely one of those things where he's like, look, I know where the landmines are. I'm not even going to walk into that field. So that's fine. I don't care. The reason I think it's a little bit flattering is he doesn't do that to anybody else. So either we're in his head, we're really good, like we feel special. You compare both his answer about Sam Levitt to Bear Bachmeier, totally different. And Sam Levitt's a better quarterback, You compare Kalani's answer about Dampier. Like, one of these is an outlier, not just among this 3 or 4 sampling, among every coach, every week, everywhere. So in that sense, it's like, well, okay, we're either really in his head or we must be pretty good. But am I angry? No. I mean, I think a lot of BYU fans are going to come across like, oh, the disrespect. Oh, how dare he? And it's like, if anything, that's more respect. I've cited the Voldemort example so many times, like the for you Harry Potter nerds out there, which I don't know if there's a big overlap between college football and Harry Potter, but I know it's not zero. That so many of the wizards and witches are like, we can't say Voldemort's name out loud. It's dangerous. And like the whole time with Urban Meyer saying TDS instead of BYU, it's like, ooh, like you make us feel like Voldemort. Like, yeah, go ahead, be scared of us. I don't care.
See, here's how I think about it: is he treats it like a rivalry, like they're our rival, man. Like this fires me up, and I think there's a group of people that just like can't stand it. Like, listen, do you want us to just pretend like it's different, not different? Because it is different. I'm a freaking grown A man in my 40s, and every time I think of the game this weekend, I literally get a pit in my stomach and my heart starts racing. Okay, it is different. It's different for all the reasons we just have detailed. It is different. It's not another game, and Witt gets that. I don't think he's trying to be political. I just think he gets that, and that's how he treats it. And it either pisses you off or it makes you laugh. What do they do?
Let me say this. As someone who's been
you crying or what's going on here?
Sorry, as someone who was sorry,
do we need to edit this? This is costing me time.
My dog was barking, and so I muted it. As someone who's been trying to get more information about quarterbacks from Whittingham for the last 2.5 years, like, I understand how frustrating it is. Whittingham doesn't give a lot of information about quarterbacks, whether it's his own and their injury status or someone else's. So, no big deal.
Yeah, I get the frustration for sure. I spent 2 years thinking Cam Rising was going to trot out of the tunnel, only to never put the uniform on again. So
he's questionable this week, right?
He might play. He depends. I heard he practiced on Tuesday, so we'll see. Okay,
let's get to the game. Let's get to the game analysis.
All right, Mr. Benjamin, what do you expect? Okay, as we know, let's caveat it with we know rivalry, anything can happen. We get that. Yeah. Throw that out the window. So just what you know of the two teams, what do you expect to happen on Saturday?
It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be close. I honestly, going into last year's game, I thought the fact that it's in Rice Eccles instead of Lavelle Edwards, I thought Utah was going to get that one for that reason. Because I do think the home field advantage is key. I think this year, neutral site, Utah wins. Rice Eccles, Utah wins big. I think BYU ekes out a win here because I feel like that environment, and I'm not going to get into the pissing match of which one's better. They're both amazing. Both teams, night games, they're just notorious for making it difficult for the opposing teams. And so I feel like that's going to just bump BYU over the edge. Most of the experts and the matchup predictors are putting Utah ahead by 3 or 4 points. I think the home field advantage can be enough to overcome that. And I know they factor that into it. But that's what gives me hope. I think the crowd makes the difference. There's a lot of different, we could get into matchup by matchup, what I love, what I'm worried about. But I think that's what seals the win for BYU.
Okay. Well, what do you love then? Let's talk about it. Where do you see BYU having an advantage on the field?
Just minutes before we went on air, they said Jack Kelly will play. So I love that. I think the combination of Glasker and Kelly, there might be a better linebacker out there. There's no team that has 2 better linebackers than those 2. So they can make life difficult for an opposing defense. I like our corners. Evan Johnson has been nails all year. So if you guys have multiple receiving threats, which I think you do, you're going to be able to pass downfield. Your top receiver might not have the best day. The line matchup intrigues me because I think that's a strength for both teams on both sides. I don't think Utah would look at offensive or defensive line and say that's a weakness. I think BYU feels the same way. So putting them against each other, I would go so far as to say maybe with the exception of Texas Tech, BYU's defensive line will be the toughest test for Utah's offensive line and vice versa on, all of those matchups. So I'm excited to see that. Quarterbacks, to me, are very similar. Bear, because he's so young, they trusted him just with the short throws more so early on, and they've only recently been saying, okay, let it rip. And he's been able to do that, and it's been fun, but we didn't really see that very much early on. He loves to run. He loves to be a Tim Tebow run people over kind of runner, and you absolutely love and hate as a BYU fan. It'll be 3rd and 15. And the play that we all hate on 3rd and 15 is run it up the middle. Bear multiple times has made a heroic effort to run and do just a little bit of dodging, but he will dive and stretch the ball out, and he'll always come up about a half a yard short, but then we'll go for it on 4th down and get it. And so the guts that he plays with, the effort that he plays with is amazing. The reason I hate that is I don't want him running that much. I fear he's going to get injured. From what I've seen of Dampier, a little more light on his feet. He's a little more shifty, but he can definitely, he gets outside the pocket and scampers, and he can make you pay for it. You tell me, you've seen more of his snaps than I have. Early season, there was 1 or 2 passes he threw downfield where he launched that thing, and it just looked like the trajectory of the ball going up in the air. I don't know if it's because he's short and has to get over the line, or if he really just doesn't have that strong of an arm, but he put a lot of air underneath his downfield passes. And so I think that could be one of his weaknesses is he's only going to connect with someone 30 yards downfield if they're wide open. Anything other than that might be a little too risky, where I don't know if you've seen any more lasers than that, but
the thing about Dampier is, and again, I'm not an expert. This is just Jake Johnson, the water cooler talk guy. He's not the pinpoint Alex Smith passing, air it out quarterback, but he's good enough to connect on passes when he needs to. Our problem in the deep passing game is not him, actually. It's the fact that we don't have a burner at receiver that can get wide open. Our best receiver is Ryan Davis. He's Britton Covey light. Like, he's a good possession receiver. He's got great hands. He's tough, but we don't have anybody that can open it up over the top, right? And so we don't really go deep downfield a lot. There's been a few times where we've had some 20, 25-yard crossing routes or things when he gets out of the pocket, finds the play is broken down, finds Ryan Davis down the middle for, I think our biggest gain of the year is 58 yards, 30 of it in the air, things like that. But it's not going to be dropped back, launch it over the secondary for a beautiful in-stride pass. Where Dampier is lethal is he's a good enough passer to not be a bad passer, if that makes sense, right? He's good enough where you have to respect the passing game because he knows where to go with the ball. But where he really can hurt people is if the play breaks down, he doesn't get sacked. He just avoids the sacks. He avoids the pressure, and he keeps his eyes downfield looking to make a play. Or if he doesn't, he can extend it for 15 yards. 3rd and 12, nobody's open, break it for a 20-yard run. And that's why we have drives that are 12, 15, 18-yard plays. I mean, freaking against UCLA, the first game of the year, we had a 21-yard drive that took up 12 or 10 minutes, like almost an entire quarter, because that's where we really excel. And I think that's where Utah can win this game is you say you're not terribly worried about the advantages of the lines. I agree. BYU's got a great defense, but our offensive line has just been able to lean on dudes, with the exception of Texas Tech, and get us in 3rd and short. If we are in 3rd and 7 or longer, we will not win this game. But if it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 all game long, we're picking up first down after first down with runs for 4 or 5 yards, extending the drive, chewing up the clock, having 8-10 minute drives, and that's where Utah can get the win. So while BYU, yes, I agree, your secondary has been great, your linebackers are awesome, your defensive ends still halfway through the year do not have a single sack. And that's hard to understand. Like, to get pressure on the quarterbacks, you guys have to bring Glasgow and Kelly, and the numbers show that based on their sack numbers. But straight up four-man defensive line is not getting the pressure, and so you have to bring extra pressure. And so I think that's where Utah can capitalize. Is we can be able to lean on the defense, the defensive ends specifically, and extend drives. And I mean, we have you look at whoever you want to look at, like the draft pro experts, Todd McShay, blah, blah, blah. Most people have Utah having both tackles being first-round NFL draft picks, and then the other 3 middle guys are all seniors, and a lot of people have 2 or 3 of them get drafted. So I don't know if 4 will get drafted, but there's the whole line's in conversations to get drafted. So our offensive line, if it can lean on the defense as the game wears on, that's where we can get the victory, I think. And that's expert analysis, right? That's what people tune in for. What
Solid.
We just discussed, Benjamin,
Solid.
that is what people tune in for. The expertise. We're the David Locke of statistics, you and I, in college football.
That does sound a lot more educated than what we used to do. We've stepped up our game a little bit. We used to just be like, nah, blue is better. Look at it. It's pretty.
I'll tell you what worries me a little bit is BYU's proven twice that they can pull out wins that they maybe shouldn't win. Like the Colorado game, they should have lost. Arizona game, they definitely should have lost. But they were able to put together drives and or defensive stops and pull out games, and that's a skill that a good team needs to have.
Grit.
Yeah, it's grit. So
it's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob stepping in. We know what it is, and we can't account for that. We can't account for that. If that happens, this game is over.
I wasn't quite going to go there. I was going to say it's a beautiful thing because it's just like every really good movie you've ever seen. Like there has to be a moment in the movie where you say, "Oh no, everything's going terribly wrong. Oh no, how's our hero going to get out of this jam?" And then when it ends, you just get that. That just adds to that feeling of triumph. So yeah, it's scripted. It's scripted that way.
Is that why every rivalry game you guys have a nickname for? Harley's Last Stand or whatever. All these guys. Harley's still open.
One more
Johnny
chapter,
Harley's still running. All these things.
like Arizona just needs to pin BYU, and they let Kingston go off for like 40 yards on the return.
Yeah. Oh, Kingston, I'm excited for him. Obviously, he's from Roy. This game means a lot to him, but he is having himself a year. In fact, if I'm facing BYU, I mean, up until this point, I think everyone's been focusing on Chase Roberts as like, hey, he's the guy to guard, which has allowed Kingston to just really dominate. But I think going into this game, I don't know which guy I would put as the number one receiver because Kingston has been having a phenomenal year. So I'm excited to see what he can come up with, what he can do in this game.
So I've only seen 5 minutes of BYU this season. You guys are dropping names like our listeners absolutely know who these people are. They don't. Brandon.
Oh, we saw the footage. They're all watching at the Rice Eccles during their own game.
I know about Bear.
To be fair, it was 42-10 at that point, and they just announced on the scoreboard that BYU is going to overtime, so people pulled up with their app.
Oh yeah,
Benji, I got a question about Bear.
Yeah,
he's like I would call his last name Bowling Ball instead of Bachmeyer.
That's right.
He runs it up the middle like a fullback. Like what's the best way to stop that for Utah?
You know, teams have been able to limit him to 3 or 4 yards when it's just congested in the middle. And honestly, it's on him when he makes the dumb decision. You know, you watch the replay and you're like, dude, you should go on the left. You went right. Why'd you go right? Everybody was there. If he gets ahead of steam, you're looking at a bonus 3 yards because the guy is built. It's crazy. So, and that's honestly, as a BYU fan, that's what I love is if you're focused on stopping that, if you're overthinking that, you're going to open up some screenplays over the middle. You know, I mean, there's going to be something else that they'll be able to point out. To what we were talking about earlier with the eking out the close wins, and this might upset Utah fans, I love Aaron Roderick. I absolutely love him. Even a lot of BYU fans, and that's maybe every team in the country. Offensive coordinator is the easiest position to pick on because when something doesn't work, you say, why'd we do that? You know, like hindsight and all that. But he's masterful and Jay Hill as well in saying, okay, this is the situation. What's going to work? And I agree with you. They pull out wins that they shouldn't. And I love that.
How many trick plays are we going to see from Roderick this week?
2 or 3. Yeah. And that's another thing I love. I'll be honest. I hate saying this out loud because I hate all things Boise State. I hate's a strong word. I don't love Boise State, but during their like peak years when they were, Fiesta Bowl, all that, I was so jealous that they had this program where the fans could draw up their own plays and submit them, and they were committed to running one fan play per year. And what a cool way to engage the community. Like, wow. I wish BYU did that. So I do love the identity of trick plays. Kalani had said in a post-game interview, people are like, why are you running trick plays against West Virginia or against, I think even game 1 against Portland State, they did that. That was the first time we saw the tornado. And it was like, hey, that's a really cool trick play, but Portland State, come on, man. Well, Kalani said, if we practice them, but we never run them, that hurts us in practice. The players aren't engaged. They don't take it seriously. So the fact that we're committed to practicing them and using them, we have to use them in the games or it doesn't work the same. So I like that identity no matter who the opponent is.
You should do passes on to Kalani. You should run where the tackle becomes the quarterback for an entire quarter. Just snap it to him. Just do it and see. You never know. Like, if you're going to practice it, just run it. You never know what could happen. See, pass that on for me, would you?
My imagination is big. And, okay, this is, I'm going to qualify this. This is not what I really think, but I've been able to go to these mental places of what if, So what if this hatred of BYU has been consuming Kyle Whittingham so deeply to the point that the entire season has been a setup, Like, what if the real team takes the field? Like, he's been playing all these guys 2 ways. What if he's got, like, secret weapons? He's like, all right, let's bring our good team out for the first time ever, and then I'm going to retire. I wouldn't even wait till the end of the season. I will retire Saturday night. It'll be official by Sunday morning.
I will allow it. If that's what he's been doing, saving up for the entire game and we win it, whatever it takes, man, I'll allow it. Do you remember you came up with on our very podcast, the jump pass offense? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The entire offense was just jump passes all game long. And no one would see it coming. They're like, what is going on? And it would work.
You take someone out there who's built like Yao Ming and then someone who's built like Shaquille O'Neal. That's all you need. Who's going to stop them? One of them throws it. One of them catches it. They hop a little bit. Like, it's just that easy. Like, they can just, you go run 7 yards and I'll throw it straight to you, to your hands that are up in the air. That's all you need. We're making this game way too complicated. Just get the big guys out there.
That was like Mike Leach when he thought of the idea of throwing midgets over the line of scrimmage.
Hey, should we do some score predictions?
Yeah, let's do a prediction. Benji, go for it. Give us a 30-second synopsis of how you expect this to play out. Obviously, knowing that it won't play out that way ever, the way we expect, but give us a score and your prediction.
Prediction: BYU gets some exciting plays early, struggles second, third quarter. Utah takes the lead. BYU doesn't recapture the lead until 2 minutes left in the game, but they managed to win 27-23. There is some controversy because why wouldn't there be? There has to be. But, ultimately, God is our judge. It's the right outcome.
Honestly, when you were talking, I got a pit in my stomach. Because that has happened before. In fact, 2001, I was on my mission. I was a zone leader in Columbus, Ohio. And we happened to have a dinner over at a member's house who happened to know that we were big Utah BYU fans in our district. And we happened to watch that game by mistake. And that's what happened. Utah's up 21-10. And that's when Luke Staley had 2 touchdowns under like 3 minutes to go. And at that point, I should have turned in my fan card then, because I would have saved myself decades of pain and misery if I'd have just at that point made the clean cut then. But no, I come back year after year like a dog to its vomit. And so my prediction, guaranteed this happens. Guarantee I will throw up at least once before the game. That's a guarantee. Because I think about the game right there when you're talking about it, and I got a pit in my stomach, like I can't do this anymore. But here's what's going to happen. It's going to be a game where nobody scores early. It's going to be like 3-3 in the second quarter, because there's going to be a bunch of missed opportunities, overthrown passes because people are amped up. It's going to be one of those games where it's low scoring, and then the score starts coming the second half, and Utah can lean on BYU and rush the ball like they did in 2019 and run the clock out, win this game 27-23. Did you say 27-23?
Yeah.
Dude, we both got the same score. Yeah. We got the same score. Just flip it. 27-23.
Hey, we can come together. We can agree.
That's good. Yep. We're like those gangsters holding our bandanas tied together.
Yes.
That's right. Well, Benjamin, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring back to the masses. The people cried out. They said, we want North and Goal. It was a booming enterprise. Then you got too big and powerful for us and left me in the dust. And on you went. But what a reunion has been. Any last thoughts before we go, Benjamin?
Yeah, what if Texas Tech started losing a bunch? And what if this is part 1?
I can't do this twice. I cannot do this twice. I cannot.
I would love that.
But that's not going to happen. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, man. They're legit top 5 team. Like the way their lines handled us on both sides was like shocking. But I look at the talent they bought. I mean, they did. That's just the name of the game these days. $26 million roster, right? And they're worth every penny. They're legit. So it's Texas Tech and everybody else at this point. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, what a pleasure. Benjamin, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me on.
Benji. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Benjamin, appreciate you joining us. Wish your followers a goodbye for us, would you?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Good to have you hear from me again. And especially my Ute fans, keep tuning in. This guy knows what's going on.
Benjamin is the inventor of, hey, come say hi. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but he would post random pictures from around the globe where no one else was. And he'd say, hey, come say hi. It was funny. It was his shtick for a long time. All right, Benjamin, this is it. Thank you for joining us on Salt Lake Jake's Take with guest host, Dr. Benjamin Hadfield. I am Salt Lake Jake, and I am out.
Salt Lake City. Hey Jake, how are you? Salt Lake Jake. Salt Lake Jake.
Salt Lake Jake.